It's just good, yeah, in contrast to last season, Dave, it's just great to see them have
What about
this
this as a
start.
striker, though, Alan? This is what you used to do so well. How good is that?
My old manager, George Graham, would have been purring at that. He would
Which
have
bit?
absolutely loved it, you know, to show that strength. And then the ability to set up a chance for a shot. You know, there's an end product to it. I mean, it's a bit of a hike in the air from Ben White, isn't it? But he makes
it a
something
chance,
of it.
doesn't he?
Yeah. And the feather touch, it was just beautiful. But this is the form that he's been in early on in the season. And I think he's hungry enough to, you know, to carry it on, and he's got the players around him to do exactly that.
Do you think that is the biggest difference, Alan, that now there is much more of a direct threat in the middle of the pitch, which perhaps they didn't have last season?
Yeah, I think the coaches have said, you know, privately, he has transformed the side. You know, I heard Jamie mention that word earlier on, and he's just made such a difference with the options that he gives his teammates and those clever players. You know, that little ball down the side that Odegaard played into him when he was just offside. You'll see so many of those, I think, this season as he gets to know what those lads can do, and they get to know his little runs, those little 5-yard bursts. You know, it augurs well.
He's always been a good player. I've always admired him, haven't we, in Manchester City, but it feels now he's found, and this is no disrespect, 'cause he did wonders at Man City. He was always involved in so many good things, but you never felt that he was the number 9. You always felt that there was Aguero or whoever it may be. Obviously, Haaland's now come to the club. He was always a player that they turned to if they had a few injuries, or maybe you play him off the left or off the right. But here, he's the focal point of the team, and he's doing things that are just magnificent.
There was a lot of talk that he didn't want to play through the middle. When he was playing for Brazil, he preferred it on the right. I've not heard him talk about that.
Which is where we often saw him play for Manchester City as well. But do you think sometimes that sort of feeling that you are the number 1 guy, that you have the total confidence of the manager, the fans and your teammates can make that difference?
Yeah, well, I think with some players the shirt will weigh heavy. With others, and clearly with Gabriel Jesus, he's been given the number 9, and with that comes an expectation, you know.
He hated that one being chalked off.
Oh,
didn't he?
yeah. I mean, there's so little in it, wasn't there? But he's relishing the responsibility now. He knows he's first choice, and that gives you a lot of confidence as a player, whatever position you're playing. And he's grasping that opportunity. It's such a different kind of role for Manchester City, and he's being regarded in such a different way than he was at City, as much as he enjoyed it there.
We heard from the captain as well, who obviously got his 2 goals today. We heard how mature he was talking about the game. Do you see that maturity on the pitch from one so young?
Yeah, for Martin, he's a 23-year-old, but he's almost like the manager on the pitch. You see that he's got so much intelligence the way that he plays. You can see him in number 8. He just anticipates that one, nips in front, then he sets the attack up. But he doesn't stand still. He knows his role is now, can I get in the box? Can I add numbers, as they say now, about getting goals, assists? You find himself in a really good area. From Bournemouth's point of view, someone should definitely pick him up. But once that ball gets back set to him, he reacts so well and wraps it in with his left foot.
I mean, he's the leader, isn't he, as you say, Jamie? I don't think particularly does it vocally. I think he's a fairly quiet lad around the club.
So why make him captain, do you think?
Well, I think the way he leads by example and the way he wants the ball when things maybe aren't going so well, he wants to get things going. He's one of these boys that never wants to take a day off, I hear. They're given a day off and he comes in and he works on something. Sometimes I think the coaches have to remind him to smile, you know, because, you know, he's
Intense,
so desperate to do well, a little bit intense, but I mean, what a great player.
Will this be key for him as well, Alan, do you think, actually adding goals to his game as a midfield player? I mean, he scored goals last year, but this is a great start for him.
Yeah. I remember Palace on the opening night, and he tried to pass it once or twice when it was just one pass too many, and you thought, oh, no, come on, take the responsibility, which he obviously did there. But a player of his ability and the positions he's going to pop up in, he should easily be in double figures every season.
It's an interesting balance in that midfield as well, because Thomas Partey is playing very deep, and then you have Xhaka playing as lot higher than what I've seen him play previously. I know it's early in the season, it might slightly change. If you play against a certain side, you might have to go with a 2.
Does it look like he's relishing that, Xhaka?
Yeah. I'm still unsure, because I always feel that there is maybe a mistake or something that might cost him, you know, cost the team. But right now, his form's been fantastic. And then you've got Odegaard the other side, and they're getting into the box. They're making it very difficult. The problem you'll get is when you play against a team that maybe flips it and then they've got a 2 and then you have to then maybe change what you do. But right now, with Arsenal's confidence, they're dictating to teams. They're saying, this is what we do, how are you going to stop us? And teams are finding it really hard to, because you have to adapt to every single game. I think with Zinchenko coming inside as well, that gives them a completely different balance as well. I love what he does. We've seen, you know, with Cancelo at Man City, we've seen Kyle Walker, but we'll look at that more in depth later on. But there is something that is so important for this Arsenal team now.
Let's have a look at the third goal then, Alan. And it's interesting in this position where you'd see so many teams just try and fire it in the box. This Arsenal team are trying to play now.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the tails up, haven't they? And Saliba's been welcomed into the fold by the players and the fans particularly.
Not surprised when he can finish like that.
I know, yeah, and not really left-footed. He's got, I mean, he would have gained a lot of confidence in France at his two clubs, and especially making his debut for the national team when really he couldn't find a place at his club. But he's come back, and it's interesting that, you know, Arteta's put him next to Gabriel and shifted Ben White to right back. Whether that continues, we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
but
if you think about it, Al, when you got Fofana looking like he might be going to Chelsea, they've offered £80 million, and you look what he's got. And I know there was a defensive partnership, I think, at St Etienne, where they did both really well together. And you just the two of them are just such good. They're thoroughbreds. You know, they read the game so well, so classy on the ball.
Yeah.
And he looks like, I mean, I think that the going away has really helped him grow as a player. And I think the Premier League, as you can see sometimes, it's so unforgiving. But he's learned, he's strong, he's now a mature player.
But you know what it's like now, recruitment. It's so difficult to get these kind of players. But Arsenal got in early. I don't know what they paid, relatively modest fee. But I think that shines a
27 million, I'm being told.
great light on the recruiting system at Arsenal, though. They're so together. You know, I mean, they got Odegaard for 30 million. At the time, a lot of fans, I think, were going, 30 million? I mean, you could get 80 for him now easily. So
well, on
they've
that
got
point,
that together.
Sorry, just stop you there. I also think having Gabriel alongside him, I know he's still a young player, but he feels like he's got that authority as well. It might be slightly different if you've had maybe Ben White alongside him. But those two look like a real partnership. If they can keep them fit, it feels like you've got half a chance, because that's an area where we feel that over the years, if you think about Arsenal, I think with his first game, he had Socrates and David Luiz when he said his first game as a manager against Bournemouth. And when you look at what he's got now, that does look like a defence that, even second half when they were coming under pressure with Kiefer Moore trying to head the ball, they withstood it. They look very strong. 3 games in, but the signs are very good.
Fair play to Arteta, though. I mean, there was a lot of noise around Saliba that he was going to be the next big thing. But I think when he arrived at Arsenal, his strength hadn't caught up with his body shape. He could get knocked off it too easily. They saw that in training. So he sent him away. 2 years out in France, and he's come back a different lad.
Keeper's on his way to us, I think. Aaron Ramsdale is going to come and join us. Come on, Aaron. Come and join us. He's just hovering here, as he does as a cross is about to go in. He'll drop points as well. They've seen Darwin Nunez sent off. There are injury problems as well, we hear, in the Liverpool camp. Could this be a more even contest than perhaps we might have originally thought?
Every possibility. This has always been the game. When you're a Liverpool player, the first match you look for is when you play Manchester United home and away. It will never change. Now, Manchester United are in disarray. It's been a poor start from Liverpool as well. But this is how I think football can change so quickly. If Man United somehow turn it on, produce a performance, that can then be the catalyst to having a great run in the Premier League. The flip side is if Liverpool get and beat them, and then all of a sudden they're on a run. So this game feels, I know it's 3 games into the season, it feels like it's got an enormity about it that we don't normally talk about so early in the season. I can't wait for it, even talking about it. You know, the players that are going to be involved, the managers, Jurgen Klopp will know he won't want to fall any further behind Man City. I mean, last year they got to 14 points at one stage and they nearly wrestled it back. But this is such a big game for Liverpool, and it's also a big game for Man United. I can't wait to watch it.
On air at 6:30 on Monday night. There was a big gulf in class here as well this afternoon, and you talked before, Jamie, about the role that Zinchenko's made. Just explain to us what difference he's actually made to this Arsenal team.
We just had so much quality. Now, they've got a left-back in Tierney who I really like as well. He's a fantastic player, tenacious, but he doesn't tend to do what Zinchenko does. Now, you can see him there. He's picking it up in what I would call a midfield role. This just shows with the quality that he's got as the ball goes back. There's absolutely no panic. He's worked with Pep Guardiola, been at Man City, worked with world-class players. Look, whoops, a little bit of skill. Does he panic? No. Takes it. He knows he's the last man. Again here, look at the position he's picking up there. Then you've got Xhaka that's playing outside him. He's always got that pass there, so you could, if you do get a problem, he can fill it at left back. Now, this was about 70 minutes into the game. I know Alan touched on it as well. He's your left back. Look at where he's picking it up. We can't see him. He's not in camera, but you've got Xhaka who's playing as the left back. Ball carries on, and you can see his position. There you go. There's Xhaka there coming into play. He still fills that void in midfield. You've got Zinchenko now. They play the ball up. Aaron mentioned this when he talked to us a second ago. You've got those passes into midfield. You can see Zinchenko now comes alive again. He gets a little bit lucky on this occasion, but what he does, he thickens up the midfield. As a Bournemouth player, you don't know who you're marking. They're like ghosts. 1 minute hits, I'm marking Xhaka. Next minute, I'm marking Zinchenko. Odegaard. The rotation in that midfield was fantastic today, and it's certainly something that he's watched and learnt at Man City.
So you might think, as an opponent, that you're okay, you're 2 against 2 in the midfield, and then suddenly he pops in there. Ben White comes in there as well. It's obviously a tactical switch that he wants players, but perhaps in those positions who can do that.
Yeah. As Jamie said, it happens at City. I mean, listen, he didn't have to do too much defending today, did he? So he had it all his own way in terms of creative looking forward against Crystal Palace on the opening day. Once or twice, long
Couple of
balls.
times,
He got caught a little bit out of position in one-on-ones defensively. Is he as good as some fullbacks? Maybe not. But he's such a good footballer. I mean, there'll be times when Kieran Tierney, there's a place for him. You know, rampaging down the left, getting to the byline, whipping in crosses. There'll be a place for him in this season when they've got the Europe as well. But at the moment, Zinchenko's got the shirt.
I would love to, when he came here, I always watched him play for Ukraine, and he never plays left back for Ukraine. He always plays as a midfield role. Andrei Shevchenko played him there, the new managers played him there, and you can see that he wants to play centrally. Right now he's playing at left back, and he's doing a great job. I can see him, and maybe even said to the manager when he came, I prefer to play in the midfield. Now, when you're playing and you're winning, you don't care where you play, but I could see him as one of those 2 in there. You know, Granit Xhaka's been in and out of the team. He's not always been a fan's favourite. That might be a position where he can take up as well, alongside Odegaard. I just think he's such a versatile player and such a clever, astute signing from Arsenal. Not that much money, but he's got so much quality on the ball, and he just takes the level up in training, in matches to levels that are just we haven't seen from Arsenal for a long time.
I mean, the relationship between Pep Guardiola and Arteta has played a big part, hasn't it? Because at the end of the day, Guardiola City have sold 2 very good players. You wouldn't say to one of their title rivals, but, you know, to one of their Premier League rivals.
Mates rates, isn't it? It's mates rates.
Yeah, mates rates, yeah. And it's going to improve
I'm
Arsenal.
not sure that exists in football anymore.
But not every
What did they both cost? I'm trying to think. What did they both cost?
Jesus, about 50 million.
Combined about 45 for Jesus.
30 and 45.
30.
75 for those 2 is not bad business. That's mates rates, I think, in this day and age.
Well, of course, there's a desire for the players to come here as well, isn't there? That has to be a factor in it. Zinchenko talked about the fact that he was an Arsenal fan and always had that desire to play for the Gunners.
It's still a very attractive club to come to. London plays a big part in it for a lot of people. Yes, they're not a Champions League club at the moment, but it's Arsenal, isn't it? It's the Arsenal.